Oh, how you doing, people? Today, you all right?
Yeah, I'm great, man. What about you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
It's a bright afternoon
Another,
here.
yeah, it's a sunny day in Glasgow. Another good day for 3,000 miles.
Yeah.
I was just avoidably absent last week. I had to handle some issues, but it was a good program. I listened in from where I was. I was on transit. It was actually good, 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 good. How you doing, people? How's everybody doing today? How's Glasgow? How's Scotland? How's the UK? I know we're all buzzing because the atmosphere is different politically and even and otherwise. And
Did,
that
did you
leads us
vote?
to the topic we're going to discuss today. Well, did I vote? Yeah, I did. I did.
I did as well. I did
I
as well.
did. I voted and I voted for I voted for the SNP, Scottish
Now,
Party.
how did I go? How did I go for you?
Well, we didn't win. It was the other one. I've forgotten the name. Who won? Because who won the Paisley? Was it the S? It's still a Scottish party too, but I think it's the other wing of the SNP. I don't know the name, but it starts with S. I'll try to check. I'll try to Google it and check it.
Mm,
They were
mm.
the one who won, and I was shocked. Though I was shocked because I know the SNP used to be like the
What shocked me most is I started seeing on Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, seeing our people taking picture. I voted, whatnot, whatnot. And I'm like, wow, maybe we should make a contrast if that is possible back at home. And how peaceful. I asked because how many minutes did you spend at the polling unit? How was it? And
Well,
let's just
that is actually the topic that's actually the topic we're going to discuss today. So let's not jump in so quickly because
yeah.
we're getting ahead of ourselves here. We're getting ahead. Well, it's another lovely Monday, and quickly we already started discussing. The topic is the UK elections and the way forward. What's the next thing? The elections are come and go. We're going to look at a lot of things because, first of all, the major, I want us to look at, like, do a comparison. That's why I want us to start before we delve into the election itself. Let's look at the process in general and look at what, in this 21st century, what we are experiencing or what we have experienced in elections in Nigeria. I want us to start from there and gradually we bring it out looking at the election in itself and not the process.
Well, thank you very much. Big shout out to everybody. Big shout out to everybody. 30,000 miles. Thank you all for your comment, your your contribution so far. And congratulations to all the successful candidates and to the candidate also that they've been encouraged to try again. It's a congratulations to you too. Remember Michael Faraday, whenever you take in your big hell, and just know, don't give up. Well, I think it's a win-win the way I'm seeing the thing right now. And the most important thing is to see what people are gravitating towards. So before I make a juxtaposition, like you asked me, as to what election is back at home and all, I would like to also just make a short statement on what lies ahead of the elections. I think what lies ahead is to move ahead. That is what the UK people have been known for. They don't want to be stopped. Uh, they let me use the word we now, because by virtue of my son being here, I'm living here and all, so I'm also part of the system. So we are forward thinking people. We are people who believe that okay, our society should be for all and for us. And as such, I believe that the policies that would emanate from this new change would be policies that would actually take shape in that form. And my own personal conversation towards that is to avoid sentimental political moves. And I will come back to explain that in relation
You
to
hold
your
up, hold up.
previous statement.
What? we're gravitating too fast here. Just I know the blood is hot. Look, I can see that fire in your eye. The blood is hot because there's a lot
Okay.
we have to look at in terms of the way forward. But first of all, let us look at it. First of all, like you said, congratulations to the Labour Party. After 14 years of the Tories, we've seen the change that we were all clamoring for. So that aside, let's look at it from this aspect. First of all, when the whole election razzmatazz started, like there was announcement that an election is going to hold, everybody should register. Looking at it from that aspect, we didn't hear anything about we have. First of all, the first question I want to ask you: do you know the body that conducts election in the UK?
I think
Not popular.
it's a, yeah, it's a very transparent system that involves the people more. And they have this
Exactly.
system called the iWatch of the people, where it's so hard for you to actually want to attempt to cheat the people or the people's decision. And there's a reason behind that. Please do not let us give accolade to the fact that they've not tried. I will give it to the United Kingdom populace that they are awakened and enlightened so much that they hold their leaders accountable, and they are not people to be, to be joked with. And you can see that in the fact that you look at many prime ministers that has actually retired, not doing the will of the people, not going in the way people trust their moves. And you will say these are people that actually hold their leaders accountable, and they've put system in place that functions in that dimension. Well, let us make a comparison to what is going on back home. We would know it is not a very good thing to compare, this kind of enlightened society to what it's obtainable back at home. Back at home, where the police, it's the police is like a service dog to those in power. Yeah, the police have the autonomy to actually initiate what is called equity. It is not what is obtainable back home. So that's run through the whole system, justice system, electoral, executive, legislative arm, and all, which is not obtainable here. And there's a strong opposition party here that gives you proper checks and balances. You as a winning team, and that's what we've seen over the years, not just for this past Prime Minister uh, Sunak. We've seen it past and past, previously. So these checks and balances have made these political oppositions to come with honest lapses and loopholes to present to the people, and also for the people to see what their leaders are doing for accountability, transparency, and also to create an healthy atmosphere around governance for you to understand that policies, like I said, policies formulations are very, very important, because these are what are keeping the economy to be moving in the right direction to avoid anarchy. So, what is obtainable back at home? Let's start with the election. Is not something that we can, your phone. You videoing in you can lose your phone at first. You can actually be slapped. We didn't witness what is called cancelled polling units. We didn't witness stolen ballot boxes. We didn't witness heavy military presence. We didn't witness some sort of more like a total
Dimeji,
shutdown.
Dimeji, let me correct you. You said you didn't witness heavy. No military presence, not heavy. There
No
was
military
none.
presence. Yeah,
Because
there
first
was
of
none.
all, to start with, looking at elections in Nigeria, before the election, build up to election, uh, um, you see the government coming to say, okay, we have actually earmarked so billions of naira for the election, to buy election materials, to do this, to do that, to do all sorts. There's so much, they earmark a lot of money for printing of ballot papers, buying of ink, buying of ballot boxes. You see the amount they are allocating that will have a storage, you buy laptops, blah, 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 and all that. And you see this whole thing is just a way to siphon money.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be honest, here, the election itself is the news, not the budget.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
see the difference. In Nigeria, there's a lot of focus on how INEC is spending so billions, but that is not even the case here because there's so much focus on the election, and there's a system that is already a working system. In Nigeria, you want to do elections every year, they come up with a new system, a new form of database. But here, the system is already running, and they tell you if you have not registered with your new address, register. If you have registered with your former address, you do not have to register. All you have to do is walk up to the police station because of a system that is already here. But in Nigeria, there's so much money on creating systems every 4 years when we have election. And it shows you how narrow-minded the people think from that aspect. Because election is supposed to be a very
Well,
straightforward process.
well. Please, let me come in and let me also. I appreciate the fact that you corrected me. Let me also chip this in from a statement that I wouldn't want to blame the people that has been incapacitated. People who deliberately they've been put into the dark hands, and what they are to their leaders are just numbers and statistics, so that any opportunities that come to the land, they are not aware, they are not that educated enough to be aware of it, and they are sold, their opportunities and their rights are sold to the highest bidder by the so-called elites, which are also known as the leaders. The ones that are playing the dummies in Nigeria are the Nigerian professionals, and it is so shameful that the Nigerian professionals as well suffer from from the malady that is going on, because um the elite, which has the leaders right now, I don't want to call them elite enough, because the Nigerian professionals right now, most of them fall to the middle class and what we know as the civil servants, and as such they are also obligated not to partake in what it's called their constitutional destiny, which is their right. They're members of the land. So political rights is taken out from them. Political opinion is taken away from them. Why? Because they are civil servants, and that is more like an intellectual and, of course, a physical threat to someone who is also a member of the country. So these are the strategies that has been put in place and backed with the policies, with the laws that enable the oppressors back at home, enable them, and we don't see it happening in this part of the world that we are. As a matter of fact, I was surprised that even senior citizens here are they are taught they are given this franchise to the extent that they could actually go to the post mill to go post their elections and all, and their votes, sorry, to cast their vote and all. It is so simplified to the extent that they want every member of the society to know that their decision matters in this, and the counting is so
Eji,
transparent.
is that not how it's supposed to be? Election is supposed to be in its simplest form because
It
it's
is.
just a process of selection. Because way back, we all do elections, even in school, we do elections. They say, okay, you want to even right from primary school, do you want this to be your class captain? If you want the Dimeji to be your class
Yeah,
captain,
yeah,
answer.
yeah.
And they count. It's transparent because first of all, let me come. What I drew out some submissions from the election. Firstly, was the fact that election was done in one day, and not like Nigeria where they do elections in. They will tell you the first week is presidential election, the second week is governorship
Mhm.
election, the third week is legislation and or what have you. So you see that it's just one process to select everybody that represent the people. One
Mhm.
process. That's was
And there
what
has been,
amazes me most. Further,
and I observe from the media angle as well. The media has been solely responsible for um, educating people of the need to partake in the election, but they've not been so aggressive in trying to put forward a candidate as, oh, this candidate's advertisement is, they have a striking balance towards that. Their focus of advertisement is more on the election is coming. You have to partake
than the
this side
candidates.
than the candidacy. So I don't know if you understand that.
Unlike
So this,
unlike my country.
yeah, you see, we know what goes on. Even a returning governor will make use of the state media for himself, while other opposition will go to private media. And if you try it, I'm a media
Yeah.
person. If you try to play, see, we have a long way to go, my brother. We have a long way to go. And I think we can gravitate towards the right direction right now. But it's just so shameful. It's so shameful that the biggest weapon used against us is poverty. And the youth they are
Ah,
not yet to understand the fact that not everybody, I'll repeat, not everybody in a sane society, not everybody is supposed to be thinking that I want to be a billionaire. You are not supposed to bear that burden that you want to be a billionaire. As a matter of fact, being a billionaire is not an aspiration. It is not, except you have given your heart to criminality, that you have deliberately decided that I want to break the law, because it is only one person who wakes up in the morning and decide that I want to be either Pablo Escobar or the next El Chapo or whatnot, or I want to cut corners, that will be so hell bent on the fact that I'm going to be a billionaire by all means. So what I'm trying to say is that it is not wrong for you to aspire that way, but a society where that is the most aspiration of every youth. We were saying something on my platform yesterday that my guy from America said by age 16, you are meant to, you can start to be working here. So you that you are working by age 16, my guy, let us go back to our age 16. That means I have money. I don't have time to envy my friends. I have my money. I have money to join you at any party, wearing any latest clothes I want to wear, having my sense of belonging, my sense of my sense of being around. I can also save up, and by the time I reach maybe 25, if I have a good head over my shoulder, or 30, I can buy my house. By age 16 year, I can drive a car. At 20, I could even fund myself to education, to schools, because they have student loan and all. These are the things that have been put in place in the society in order to merge the yawning gap between the rich and the poor. And that is the duty of every sane government. You are not supposed to throw your people into unhealthy competition, because where there is an unhealthy competition in the society, there is high crime rates. So these are the things that are playing out in our society, that poverty has been used as a weapon, but they don't know that it is still going to have a ripple effect back on them, either on them or on their children, sooner or later.
you're very correct. To be honest, I will tell you because the build up to the election, there was more. We just knew, okay, these were the parties, but there was no really specific thing. And another thing that really fascinated me was the fact that election was done on a weekday, normal work day, and there was nothing like today is a holiday, everybody stay at home.
God bless
Everybody,
you.
I went to
And,
work.
and they planned it till the time when they know that every school will be on holiday. So it didn't even, they still put their children as paramount before their
But,
own ambition as
but
electoral candidates.
the funny thing, is in Nigeria, when there's election, everything shuts down
Yeah, which
because
is
of
not supposed
election.
to be.
But here, the society did not shut down because of an election. Everybody went as normal. There's
Yes.
a polling unit. The polling unit I went to was just opposite my house. They started at 7 a.m. My brother, at 7, I left the house at 7:40. As at the time I was leaving my house to go to work, people were already voting and were going home at 7:40 a.m. So there's
Yes.
provision for everybody. If you
I
work,
voted.
you
I, I,
if you work in the
I voted
afternoon,
in the
come
evening.
and vote and go to your job.
Yes.
Or if you work, you close, come back, and the election started at 7 a.m. and ended by 10 p.m. So there's accommodation for everybody,
I
for
voted. I
every
voted
person.
8. I voted half 8 p.m. in the evening, or let me say at night. That was when I voted. I got there.
I voted when I
I
go back. I voted when I go back from work.
That
I
cannot happen
voted
in
when I
Nigeria.
got to the polling unit. The funny thing about the polling unit was I got there. I didn't spend up to 5 minutes. I won't lie to you, I didn't spend up to 5 minutes
Same as
to
mine.
even finish. I
Same
just
as me.
finished, and you see the processes, the things are very different. Babe, the things are very different. First of all, the materials that we used were very straightforward materials. It was just a normal A4 paper.
Yeah.
The documents were printed on them, and they just give you a pencil and they say mark what you have to mark.
Yeah.
So there was no issue of Tom, first of all, I have to accredit you, or take, go and wait. I just got there and it was like, where's your photo ID? I showed them and they said, okay. And it was so straightforward. I said, what street are you? I said, I stay in so street. They said, okay, that's your
Yeah.
polling, that's your poll station. So you see the processes, everything is so, I know it's going to take us a while. Honestly, to be honest, it's going to take us ages to
And it's
get
shame,
to where the UK is.
and it's so shameful that we are using the word ages, because we want to ask ourselves an honest question when we get to this part of of this world. I asked a question yesterday on my platform, that are Africans being exploited on a global scale? So it's a very tricky question, because we like to play the victim all the time. And my friend said that, okay, fine, after we got the independence that we clamored for, because we had a destiny before us, that we want to be in charge of our elms of affairs and all. Now that we've got the independence, are we as close as even playing it well, that we want to equate the word power, or we personally have condemned ourselves to play second fiddle all through our life? And this psyche, it's so dangerous to adopt as an African person, most especially when it comes to your African elite, and you realize that what you tag as an African elite is not even a respectable figure in the global elite system structure.
In the global scale.
So you stand to question why these people come to your society and make you feel less of a human being, when they, in the proper global scale, are missed. And let me paint the picture properly, so I don't speak too much grammar. We have presidents, right? So let us imagine that the world power president right now are seated in a room. We have the president of the United States, president of Russia, president of North Korea, China, and all. Do you really think the president of Congo, or president of Nigeria, or president of Ghana could actually command authority in that room, command respect, speak, and people keep quiet? Do you think people are ready to learn from them, or they put their two hands behind and try to even use the word sir? So can you see the ripple effects as it's flowing from the head down? The only one, the only one person in recent time, not I'm not talking about the past leaders like Thomas Sankara, Amilcar Cabral, Patrice Lumumbo, Kwame Nkrumah. I'm talking about the most recent one, like Gaddafi, has been the one that has projected the black pride that we want to associate with. The one doing us justice right now, that I'm seeing him moving in the right direction and gaining respect, is
Is the
Paul
Rwanda
Kagame.
president.
Paul Kagame. That's his name. And you see,
Yeah.
Paul Kagame is managing a very small country. So for him to actually make a very big influence in that global stage is going to be so hard. Because when you manage a small country again, people like Russia will look at you and say, oh, you are just managing an island, just a small
Just
island, like a
managing a
tourist,
small island. Yes.
just a small island
That,
where we
that
are talking. So it is we Nigerians right now, just like Nelson Mandela said, that we need to get it right. So where we need to have technocrats, intelligent folks like you and me in power, how could it be how could it be that I'm seeing posters of people contesting even for their minister here? They are young people, young chaps. And how could it be back at home that people who are supposed to be either in residential care home or their family taking care of them are the ones ruling us? When they barely even understand
Dimeji,
what is
we
called
will come to
TikTok.
that. We will come to that. We will come to that because I looked at the candidates because, to be honest, I read through a lot because over the last 2 3 days before the election, I was reading manifestos, looking through candidates, looking at their profile, and you see most of these candidates, they are young people who are ordinary members of society
Yeah,
who want to serve. You see the difference
yeah,
because you look at Nigeria, somebody who wants to contest for governorship will be somebody who has been a local government chairman, has amassed a lot of
yeah,
money,
yeah,
who has been a senator before. So you see, but yeah, you see people who are just somebody who was a school teacher wakes up tomorrow and said, I think there's a loophole here. I think I could be a change. I want to run for this office. And the person has a chance. But in Nigeria, somebody like the principal of my school, he doesn't have a chance of being the local government chairman without the powers that be backing him
behind it.
up.
And that is sad. Um, this guy said it in his novel. I'm sorry to be chipping in because it's because we have 1 hour, and I'm very very sorry.
It's good. It's good.
This guy said it in his novel, China Achebe. Nothing's fall apart. There's another one. He called it A Man of the People, the novel, and you could. I love Chino Achebe's way of being a social critic through his novel, and you could see how they crumble the spirit of people's participation, and they brought classism into the system without them having a class in the first instance, because it's either they were raised by a pauper, a palm wine tapper, or they are actually they benefited from the system that even the so-called colonizer put in place just to make everybody benefit. Now they were supposed to improve upon that system. So that's why I said they came into the class without having a class. And because they have no class, they wanted the class they've taken position of taking hostage of right now. They want that class to be a permanent seat for them and their family. So they drew that class farther from the common people, like them, like their own past, in order to oppress their own past. So that's why we have stories of people like Pastor Adeboye, people like them who benefited from free educational scheme now, coming now, having universities that we cannot afford. Having politicians like Adams Oshiomhole who rode on the back of common labor or labor strike and all, being the leader. Now Adams Oshiomhole got married to a pretty woman from who? Well, from a country, Ethiopia, that
Morocco.
we can't,
I mean,
Morocco, that we
Saitome. I mean, was this? Well, I think it was Saitome.
he's now a big baller in a nutshell. You see this guy, this man, what's it, Enedi Okonkwo, the one who married that small girl. You see what they start doing, the frivolity they start being involved in. And the thing is, they're not even ready to tilt towards manufacturing, tilt towards civilization, tilt towards equating, playing the game of world power. They are not gravitating towards trying to actually even do something for their own people. They still keep amassing, siphoning funds, looting and cutting away with our resources. And it is until the Nigerian professionals, I did see, I'm just saying, it is until the Nigerian professionals, because it is a shameful thing that even Nigerian professionals now are now divided. We have Nigerian professionals whose their children were on strike for how many months and they still kept going to work. Why? Your children are on strike, university, but now it is you don't even care about the future of your children anymore. You still keep going to work for the same government that put your children at home. So it's a thing of K, will you be okay? Will you be a cool dad if I beat your son right in front of you? That is what is going on. That's the question I have from them. So it is until the Nigerian professionals now start with, but because they've created a psyche for them to believe that they also, like, they can be made like the Adams Oshomole, like this man that is Ruben Abati and the likes. So they also look forward to the Nigerian professionals that have moved from the middle class to that oppressive class that they call the elite class. So that's what they
by
look forward
by
to,
by, by licking the boots of these politicians.
and
That.
not even fighting
But
for their right.
Dimeji, that is a broad topic we really look at. If we want to go in depth in that direction, it's a broad topic we should be looking at separately, because
Yeah, yeah.
that's a niche that is a well that is really very deep to dig. But we'll
Yeah.
dig it. We'll get there.
And we have to dig it. We
So
have to dig it.
let
Honestly.
let's come home. When I mean home, I mean here in the UK, because this is our home too. Like you said earlier, our kids are
Yeah,
here. They were born here, so it's home for us. Let's come
yeah.
home. Let's look at the election itself. After 14 years of the Tories' domination, which is the Conservative Party, their nickname is the Tories. After 14 years, they've been upseated by LUP 71. LUP.
Oh, that's
So
true. Labour Party, that's true. That's true.
So does that give you some? Because to be honest, I told somebody, I said, this is giving me a feeling of deja vu. Because I was speaking with a couple of folks. We're talking, some of my colleagues yesterday. I said, okay, right now, the SNP used to be like a major player in Scotland in terms of seats and everything. But at the end of the day, the SNP has just 14 seats in parliament right now. I think so, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
About 14 seats in parliament. The Labour Party has over 400 seats in parliament. And a huge chunk of people in Scotland voted for the Labour Party in opposition to their own locally based SNP. Because I read SNP, I read some of the reason I voted for the SNP was this. I read the manifesto. The manifesto was about 95 pages long, which I read, and I saw that okay, this thing, I read the one for Labour, and I saw okay, the Labour Party, they were really focused on getting things right. But the question was, most of the things they were getting right, how was it going to affect us as immigrants? Because that's me. I was voting based on what this was going to affect. I read through. I read they countered what the Tories were saying about opening, making sure all illegal immigrants are deported to Rwanda and all that, which was the major selling point of the Conservative Party. But the Labour Party were focused on the NHS, taxes, and all that. That was their area of focus. But I looked well at the party, what SNP were selling. And to me, the SNP sold something that the Scottish people should have really bought. First of all, they were selling the Scottish independence, the referendum. That was what they were selling. And they struck a chord on my side. They said they were trying as much as possible to see how they will get their own law for Scotland on its own to scrap that no public recourse of funds for immigrants who are here paying taxes like the citizens do. We do everything same as the citizens, and we are treated as second class people because we are immigrants. I saw all that and I was like, this makes a lot of sense. But at the end of the day, the people voted. And most of them were like, I will just vote. It was a strategic vote too. I was thinking like it was a strategic vote just to get the conservatives out of there. They've been there for too long. We needed something fresh. And it reminded me of APC, PDP 2015 elections, where a lot of people were saying, let's even try APC. PDP has been there for 16 years. What have they done? They've done nothing. Let's go for APC. And we went to APC, and APC has taken us into the abyss. So, my brother, do you think this was a smart choice
Well,
by us generally?
with this you trying to that's a very very tricky question to me, but I'm going to answer it diplomatically if you don't mind. um I've trained myself over the years because I've worked in the corridors of power. By virtue of experience, I've been in politics, either working as a media personnel, spokesperson, whatnot, international educational envoy. I've served as international education envoy, spokesperson for United States of Africa, international education envoy for Global Pan Africanism Network. I've been in corridors of power in years, and I've been in the front line. So what I would just say is, don't get your hopes too high. You see, this same Labour Party that people are saying, this I have an article right there in front of me that says Labour has no plans to allow healthcare workers visas to include family members. It's right here. You see, I didn't make it up. I didn't make it up at all. It's here. It's an article. It's a news. It's there. And from Nigel Farage's statement, who made a very controversial interview which I listened to. about integration and all. He won a seat as well. So we want to juxtapose these with what happened in American's template with Donald Trump. What got Donald Trump into power and later got Biden and seems to be in favor of Donald Trump as things are going right now. It's not for the fact that people are not seeing the lacunas involved in statements, in policies that these people are gravitating towards. It's just for the fact that human beings were wired to want a change. It's a natural phenomenon that we want to change because we feel that if we don't initiate a change, then we don't give ourselves chances enough to create hope, to create a better, environment for ourselves. And this translates to also political scenario as well. But we look
Dimeji,
at the
you will continue. Let me hang you there. The fact is that you talked about people wanting a change.
Mhm.
Why you want a change? Would you not want a change that will affect you positively? That's the question.
the, the system is powerful. The system is very powerful, and it will be so dangerous to undermine the system. Look, this will take a whole different conversation, but I know you are a student of wisdom. The system is so powerful that some are trapped in the system, some are woke in the system, but you have nothing, you can do nothing about it. It's like you are aware this is what is going on, but still there's nothing you can do about it. The system is still going to overpower you. Where there are some people who have also learned to love the system, to flow with the tide. So flowing with the tide with the system is what the politicians do, so that they can place themselves in the better position in the system. And sometimes I have seen it happen. Sometimes it takes more than a good man to be a good leader,
That's right.
and that
Very
that
correct.
should be on the billboard. So when people come and give you manifestos, these are people that are giving you their good man side, good intentions. But when they get to the system, you see how they will be able to initiate those changes they promise. We've seen quite intelligent people come into power, powerful people, respectable people, but they still make blunders, like big blunders, historical blunders, that you wonder, is this not the the almighty whatnot that we thought is going to be the savior? But the question is, have we ever encountered a savior so far? So it's a recycled thing, my brother. It's just like we love that hope. We human beings love, if just going to be, it's like a pill we take. I think I'm going to correct Karl Marx. Karl Marx said religion is the opium of the masses. It is not just
Open all the
religion.
classes.
Religion. I think it is hope. The hope religion creates, and hope is hope. You can give hope in religion, but religion gives more of hope than politics. So that opium is what people like to take. If I tell you now that, well, okay, don't worry, do you know this 3,000 miles at some point in time is still going to earn us a seat in the parliament, or what? I create some kind of story around it, and I try to use that to motivate you. It might take you next year for you to realize that it's a lie. But for the time being, you might put your whole energy and feel like, yes, you know what I mean? So that is where I said I've trained my mind in order to not to be over to not to anticipate too much when it comes to political terrains.
Yeah,
I hope
yeah,
I'm
that
able
is
to
very
answer your
correct. What
question.
you have said, yeah, no, to be honest, what you have said is this because for me, I'm like the people are complaining. There's a lot of it hasn't been so bad. We shouldn't have left the EU. Brexit wasn't a good choice for us and everything. But I tell people it was the same people. It wasn't the people. It wasn't the government who decided. When the UK is wired, like you said, the power is with the masses. The government decide on a particular strategy and they put it up for a vote, and people decide what they wanted. For example, when the Brexit thing came up, the conservatives started the Brexit thing. They sold all the the you know the pros of the Brexit. So it's led for the people to now sit and decide these pros that they are selling to it. There will be cons to it. What are the cons? Nobody thought about it.
Mm.
Brexit was voted in, and you see a lot of people who are complaining and clamoring that they shouldn't have left. Because at the end of the day, like you said, hope, it is the hope that kills you. Somebody said that to me once. He said, bro, it is the hope, it's not the thing itself that kills you. It is your hope in that thing that kills you.
Yeah.
Because you keep getting hope that this thing will become better, it will become better, and it never gets better. But somebody tells you, don't worry, it's going to be fine. It will be
So it
better.
is until you face that reality and it dawns on you, you now hate yourself that I should have traded reality for this thing called, and sometimes
Class,
hope works
classical,
magic.
classical example. No, no, it works, but classical example. Nigeria in 2015, 2015, 16. I wanted to travel from Nigeria. I told my dad, I said, the way Nigeria is going, I don't think this is a country I can thrive. I want to leave. I applied, go to the US. I applied to go to the US to study and all that. I was like, no, I don't. And I said, no, I'm not a fan of people traveling abroad. Stay in your country, grow your country. It's gonna get better. You know that hope it's going to get better. We're just facing a time. Nigeria is a, and with all the, I'm not trying to downplay the religious people, but with all the religious prophecies where they come, you
Scalabo,
see pastors,
Kayalabrakanda.
pastors. I've seen pastors who come from the US and they say Africa. A pastor came once, one time. That was way back. It was a white pastor. Came to the church I attended. It was like Africa is getting. This was I was still in university there, just starting university. That was over 15 years ago. So Africa is going to be the center point of the world. While Africa is heading to a center point of the world, and you see Nigeria. Nigeria is the trigger point. And do you know the analogy he gave? He said
A
when
lot
you
of
turn the map
progress.
of Nigeria, he said when you turn the map of Nigeria, it's like a gun. And look at the trigger point of the gun. Which country is there? It's Nigeria who is there. So Nigeria will be the trigger point to. So those kind of prophecies gave us hope that
Oh God.
Nigeria will get better.
Sometimes I feel like we will do well if we open a church because I could do all these things. I'm good with words, but I've just, I've just been so decent enough to trade reality with illusions. I don't want to prioritize on perceptions or illusion, but unfortunately, that is what people need. That is what
Yes,
people
that
need.
people need to start
Now,
facing reality of the situation.
the previous prime minister said something. Let us address the elephant in the room for just few seconds that we have to go. The previous
Exactly, that
minister
was where I
said
was going.
the,
I will
pre-
bring I'll bring a question to you. We'll wrap
so
up with that.
the previous minister said we are at war, and people, and because that seems to distort people's amnesia or illusion, and they fired him for that. When I mean backlash on Twitter, no. But what he was trying to say is, even if we've not started seeing the ballistic missiles and all, I think he was trying to make mention of economic issues going on. That there's an economic battle going on, and you can see the dollar doesn't stand a chance anymore with the projection of things in the next 10 years. The dollar is going to crumble. Economic analysts have said it. A lot of people have analyzed it. People are trading now in yen. I will see it in ruby, and it's happening already. So globally, people have started. Even Nigeria attempted to go and trade with yen. I wouldn't know what stopped
And they
that.
kicked us out.
But yeah,
They kicked us.
but the fact that there was an attempt, you should understand what I'm trying to say. The fact that there was an attempt,
Yeah.
it is happening already. So there should be an economic turn active if some people still want to maintain the global domination they had. So
Okay,
this
Dimeji,
is what is playing out.
let's let's wrap up because we're short of time. I want us to really touch this area before we go.
Okay.
So, what do you think? What were the mistakes Sunak made? Because to be honest, when Sunak entered as the prime minister, I was one of those people who was really very excited. I was so excited. I was like, finally, someone who has, who's coming from a lineage of immigrants is there in power. So he gets to understand the best of both worlds. Your parents were immigrants and you were born
Mhm.
here as a British, went to the best schools and everything. There was that excitement in the air that this guy has experienced the best of both worlds. So he's able to, because no matter what you see, the UK right now is a very multicultural society.
Yeah. I
So
think
you're
let me cut
excited.
in.
And what were the mistakes you think he made as a person?
Let me cut in. Let me cut, and I would answer it the honest way I can. He made no mistake, except for the fact that politics is dirty. Look, the fact that you have an opinion these days can put you in trouble, but you must have an opinion regardless. You ask me about anything, I have to tell you my opinion on it. And because my opinion does not suit the general masses, doesn't make me less of someone who has an opinion. As long intellectual conversation as long as I have fact that could back it up, that makes sense. So he stands on sexual discourses, on preferences, on policies and everything. What did Donald Trump did wrong that seems Donald Trump seems to have an upper edge in this election that is going on right now? I've never seen a comeback like that in the history of politics ever in my life. International diplomacy. If I would say someone who I felt like committed political suicide, I would have mentioned him. But he's coming back and he seems to have an upper hand in this coming election.
Yeah, he
So
does. He does. He does have an edge.
if you place that vis-a-vis with I'm sorry, Rishi Sunak, to me, I would say nothing. We are in the era where you don't want a leader who doesn't have an opinion or a mind of his own, who can't make hard decisions, who can stand ground on or pitch tent with an ideology and say this is why I pitch tent with and this is why. He's not authoritarian. He will tell you why. So to me, Renishuna did nothing except for the fact that people wanted change. It's allowed. Except for the fact that some people feel, oh, they don't pitch tent with his ideology. It is allowed, but that doesn't make him less of a good leader. To me, I would say
So, but
he's
it
one of the
wasn't actually even it wasn't more about him. From what I could say, it wasn't for the British people. It wasn't more about him. It was more about just getting the conservatives out of the way. That was what
well, regardless.
it wasn't more about the individual because for what I've studied from my little knowledge of UK politics is more about the party
The
than the
party. Yeah.
individual who is leading the party. That's
Well,
what I
regardless,
think it has.
let us see the paradise the Labour Party are bringing. I
All
would love
right.
to live in
So
paradise. Live in paradise.
of course. So finally, what do you think is the what lies in store for
Well, I
us
hope
immigrants with this new political phase?
like that was why I mentioned
And also
Negrophile showing
aspiring
up.
immigrants too. And also
Yeah,
aspiring, not just immigrants, aspiring immigrants too.
I would want an environment that is more more thriving for us as immigrants. I want a smooth coexistence. I want societal understanding. I want good policies that give enabling settlings, and I want less of an environment that discriminates either in policies, in social context, or political context. So I just hope that the policies that will be initiated will be policies of proper good policies of good policies that is devoid of sentimental political moves. Yeah, because people run the economy, and we cannot shy away from that. People run the economy. So we need people in every country to run the economy, regardless either they are immigrants or not. So I would want the leaders
So
of this new
finally,
party.
finally, do you think most of the policies, because I know the last administration, there were a lot of policies that really affected immigrants. A lot of policies were put in place that were not that were counterproductive to immigrants. Do you think most of those policies will be revisited, or do you think the Labour Party is just going to go with what the Conservatives have put
Mm,
in place in terms of
they should,
immigration policies and
they should be
everything?
some some should be revisited. Like I said, the people and their opinion matters. So some should be revisited, and where some has not been considerable enough. There should be adequate adjustment. And I feel that moving forward from there, policies should be also should have the face of what the country represents, stands for in recent time in their reality. And yeah, I feel it's going to be a better place because most importantly, the United Kingdom people will never stop to agitate for what they know is their right. And I love that about them. They are beautiful
Yes.
people who stand for their right. They stand on their feet and they stand tall.
That's right. Well, it was a really very good discourse. Honestly, I'm so happy we were able to touch some lightly, though we didn't really, dig deep lightly. Well, it's a new era for UK. It's a new era for us. Yeah, we hope that one funny thing I'll tell you is that let me just this is a joke, but it happened. I know a lot of guys will say, I go vote for Labour Party. Now Labour, I go vote for Labour. Peter Obi Party. I say, Oga, this Labour different from Nigeria. Yeah. So some people were feeling the same Labour Party. I say, this is a different Labour Party. This is Labour Party. So on that lighter note, I want to say a big shout out to the Meji. The Meji, it's always a very good time having to really break bread with you and pick your brain and just exchange ideas is always a
Thank you
good
very
time.
much.
And also big shout out to Jambo Radio. For those of you who have been listening to us, this is Jambo Radio. You can follow us on all our social media platforms. You can even revisit this talk again to be on our YouTube channel at Jambo Radio. Follow us on Twitter, Smart Speaker, and all that. Big shout out to our producer Baron for all it does for us. Big shout out to everybody. Very soon we're going to come back to the studio because some people are wondering, you guys have been offline for weeks. We're coming to the studio very soon. We're resuming back in the studio. Big shout out to
Yes.
everybody. Thank you to our listeners. And until we meet you again next week, Monday, this is still 3,000 miles on Jambo Radio. Stay blessed. Shalom.
Best.